Hello, from everywhere you're joining me today. I would like to continue with what I had started before on the research process. So we had examined the introduction or introducing research. I had highlighted key aspects such as how you conceptualize a problem for research, how you frame it, what needs to go into defining a problem properly in a scientific way. And I hope it helps. If you do not have a chance to join me for that production, feel free to check the previous video before this. Also feel free to reach out via our different platforms or email. Hello at study research. Hello at studyanalytics.com for any inquiries. Now, today I want to get a little bit technical because the section I want to examine today tends to be technical, and this is where, let's say, even if you are doing research and you trust yourself to do the work, probably will need the support of someone who understands, let's say, statistics or research methodology as their background. So at this point, I'm saying it's technical because we look at different factors. Let's say you need a design. For those who may not understand this terminology, the design is not the design of my shirt. It's not the design of your house, although we can look at it from that perspective, how you're designing your house. Nevertheless, the design basically in research is, let's say, let me look at it from the methodology. First of all, methodology, the higher level of methodology. So methodology covers a wide range of concepts or subsections. So we have, let's say, the design, research design, to be very specific. We have approach. We have the tools you need to use. You need, let's say, a sampling framework. You need to justify, let's say, how you will ensure your research tools are reliable, valid and reliable. Those are technical terms, of course, not just reliability, but reliability of a research. Because I'm saying it's technical because there are actually statistical tests you can use to prove reliability and validity. Probably sometimes you'll need to show how your research will meet the ethical considerations, also covered under methodology. When I talk about research tools, just like in construction, you need tools. Let's say a hammer, you need a saw, you need a brush for painting. So those are tools. But in research, tools could be, or tools are questionnaires, interviews, focus group discussions, observations. So once you understand that, that is the first level. The second level is, how do I construct these tools? Because in research, the tools are not readily available. You need to construct them. And constructing them, just like any expert in construction industry, you need to be very careful in constructing those tools so that you are not missing let's say, a certain level and everything else is crumbling down. So let's start from the design. So you have designed your research from the beginning. You've conceptualized your problem. You've indicated how the research will be helpful. As I had mentioned earlier, If you want to seek for funding, you need to justify how that research is significant, how it will contribute to the society, how it will solve specific problems, how other people will benefit from it. So there is an element of justification why that research is needed and the significance of that research. What are the benefits of the research? Significance, benefits. Justification is why do we need that research? So many studies have already been done, or so more research, earlier research, previous research has already been conducted. Why should we look into your research? You need to justify that scientifically, or at least using some scientific terminology. Justification, very important. Otherwise, we shall overlook or ignore your new research. And probably you have something unique to want to contribute to the society. Then if we ignore it, unfortunately, unfortunate for you. So we've done all that. If it's an academic kind of research, you've done some comprehensive literature review. If you are in the academic world or you're a student and you would like me to run you through the process of literature review, feel free to reach out, or at least one of the members on our study team will guide you through. It's normally also very procedural. You just don't throw around content. You need to be very systematic. Now let's look at the design, rather the methodology. Sorry that I'm mixing the two, yet they are quite different. So design falls under methodology. So methodology is the umbrella term. Some research call the methodology section as methods. They tend to use the word methods. Even though methods, how I look at it is it falls under methodology. Nevertheless, it's meant to just provide the process you're using to conduct your research. So let's say you need to describe your research design. There are a wide range of research designs that suit different contexts, different researchers. So for instance, let's use examples because I don't want to go into definitions. It could be a waste of time. You can, if you're interested, you can read on your own or reach out for further consultation. So designs, let's assume you want to interview. We had started to talk about this problem of road carnage. So road carnage, you want to find out what causes road carnage in a specific town or in a specific city or in a specific country. What are the major contributors? And then you've decided that you have an overview of the people you can reach out to interview or administer questionnaires. It's an idea because now at the methodology section is where we shall clearly describe whom are we going for. So here we shall be very specific that these are the people we shall be interviewing or administering questionnaire or having discussions with. So in this case, probably want to do our research in 2 weeks period. 2 weeks. Why 2 weeks? Everything under research should be justified. Just as an example, 2 weeks could be sufficient to write requests for interviews, could be sufficient to organize, let's say, the drivers you want to interview. They're just the main stakeholders, the key stakeholders we want to interview. So we could claim that is sufficient. And probably in that claim, you just don't leave it like that. You can say in similar studies that have been done, it's been within the range of 2 to 4 weeks. So we believe that is sufficient. And of course, you quote that some of those studies which you're referencing. So what was I saying? So we want to do our research within 2 weeks, and then we want to do our data collection within 2 weeks. I need to be very specific with that. Data collection within 2 weeks, because I doubt if you can complete a whole research in 2 weeks. So within 2 weeks, you want to administer questionnaires, let's say for 5 days. Within 5 days, you want to carry out interviews. Within 3 days or so, you want to carry out discussions, focus group discussions. Within 2 days, you want to be on the road observation as a method of data collection. You want to observe how drivers are behaving on the road, or police officers are behaving. That is very sensitive. So you want to do that everything within 2 weeks. And then finally you can have your data for analysis, which will be another phase of the work. Now, so if this is the process, it simply means we are doing that within a specified period that is kind of short period. This we could use specific designs. We have examples of cross-sectional design. Cross-sectional design is, I don't want to go into descriptions, but it's basically collecting data in at one particular point. That will become clear when I talk about another design called longitudinal design. So there is that difference. We have descriptive design. Descriptive design is meant to describe a phenomenon in its natural environment. So you see, a phenomenon here we're looking at is let's say, the behavior of drivers. And then in their natural environment, in this specific context or setting, we're saying the natural environment could be their behavior on the road. So that specific being on the road is, let's say, their environment that we are observing and describing. So within this, you can use the approaches you want to apply, both descriptive and cross-sectional. Let's say we have quantitative approach and qualitative. So qualitative approach is basically, we call them qualitative insights. You are deriving qualitative insights. If you take an example of, you ask someone an open-ended question. An open-ended question is, what do you think is the right way to drive on the road? They will narrate different understanding. They will tell you different perspectives. If you are asking that one question to 10 people, you are likely to get massive responses that some are similar, others are uniquely different. So it's more of open-ended questions. People tell their perspectives, people tell their opinions about what they think is the right way to behave on the road. So for us who've been in the research industry for some time now, I've been in this industry, I think, for the last 6 or 7 years. We always say you have to be very careful at this point. You're not meant to bring your expertise in asking those questions, the qualitative ones. Be very careful, because once someone starts to narrate what they think is the right thing to do on the road, you are tempted to say, no, that is not the case. So you, instead of collecting data, you've gone to educate. So you've missed the mark. So your final outcome or output will not be what the respondents were saying, but what you are influencing them to say. So we have to be very careful with this qualitative. It is a good kind of research that helps people to get very detailed insights, but if you want to talk over your respondents, you're likely to cause a big problem in terms of the findings will not reflect the true picture, but your own perspective, what you've read, what you understand, what your expertise says, but not what the actual respondents in their natural environment believe is the case. So that is the qualitative approach. The quantitative approach is where you quantify your insights. Let's say you want to find out how many drivers believe driving on the right side of the road in the Kenyan context is the right way. Then probably you'll find 7 of them out of 14. Let's take as an example. Seven drivers believe driving on the right side, as long as there is no approaching vehicle, is the right thing to do. And then you also find out the other 6 believe driving on the left side is the best thing to do, or is the right thing, not the best, but rather the right thing to do. And then you find one who is indifferent. They believe both sides can be okay depending on the situation. So that is, you quantify the problem. Of course, in Kenya we always say keep left. That is number 1 rule in driving. But if you find there are some people who believe you can drive on the right, or driving on the right is allowed, then you've started to find out what is the problem here. Again, as I've said, it's not a moment to educate, it's just a moment to collect the data. Interventions come later. And then from there, before I move further, the qualitative aspect, we have interviews, we have focus group discussions. Also within focus group discussions, you want to let your respondents in a group say what they believe. Sometimes what I have seen is one respondent is outspoken, very strong in their opinions. They tend to overshadow what the silent ones believe. So you have to control that group so that everybody gives their honest and candid opinion. What they believe what they believe could be what they believe is true or not. So controlling a group discussion is very important. So if you're working with research assistants, you want to train them on this, that they are not letting the group be guided entirely by one person. Everything they say in a group is coming from one person. If it's a group of 5 people, I always prefer 5 to 7 people, because it's quite good to control. And then you have an opportunity to get feedback from everybody who has joined that group. So I was before I just slipped into both quantitative and qualitative approaches, I was highlighting designs. So these designs are the ones that inform how you will collect your data. So, and this is how is the approaches you're using. So we prefer mixed method approach, where you're mixing both quantitative and qualitative, because you can quantify a problem as well as get qualitative insights from what people believe, their perspectives, their beliefs. But some researchers, they're just meant to derive qualitative insights. So you can use a qualitative approach just alone, standing on its own. Sometimes you can use quantitative standing on its own, but using these approaches individually, of course, creates gaps in the research, in terms of if you use qualitative alone, then you're missing out quantifying some of the problems. So you'll have very many beliefs, insights. Of course, you can quantify them later, but it's only meant at that level. You'll only be quantifying qualitative perspectives, in terms of how many times was the word road carnage used, how many times was the word let's say driving on the right used. So that is another level of analysis. So coming back to the designs, let's examine the design that has been promoted so much, longitudinal design. Longitudinal design is so desirable. In fact, when we are reviewing articles, it's one of the best in terms of longitudinal. It's like a research that was done over an elongated period of time. Let's say you can do a research following up on your subjects. Subjects in this case are your respondents. Let's say over a period of 5 years, 10 years, just following to examine a specific behavior. Let's take an example of we are doing research on the same road carnage, and then we were observing those subjects, drivers, police officers, the management at the transport, the parastatal, the highways authorities. We are observing that over a period of 10 years. Let's say this is 2025. We've been doing this since 2015. So in this case, what you're seeing is you'll be able to observe a behavior over an extended period of time to the point that you will prove that, let's say, during December, we have a cyclic behavior. In December, in every month of December, drivers are reckless in terms of drink driving and such. During January, let's say not so many people are traveling, so there are very few cases of accidents. In the month of April, or pick another month, let's say during March or April, when the rain season is starting in our region, there are accidents and so many stalled vehicles which cause accidents. And this is the trend. You are observing a trend over that elongated period of time. So it only makes sense if you want to observe a trend over a long period of time. In fact, this is considered the most accurate, because if I observe a behavior every January of the year for the last 10 years, then it's strong evidence that this is actually what needs to be addressed. Now, comparing this to cross-sectional design, where we observed an event, let's say the behavior of drivers just in December, in the month of December. Let's say I did my research within 2 weeks in the month of December. Someone else come to do a similar research in the month of January. I am likely to find in December that the average speed of vehicles is around 120 kilometers per hour, and then in the month of January it's around 80 or 90 kilometers per hour. So what we're seeing in December is drivers are rushing to take passengers, let's say, to their villages or to their hometowns, and coming back to the main city to get more. So this a huge traffic flow, so they want to capitalize on that. But in January there is no rush. So if I'm doing my research in December, it will not give me a true picture of what happens in January, February, and other months. If I do my research in January, then I miss out what normally happens in December. It could end up actually misleading the policymakers and other stakeholders. So this is why I said longitudinal design is always a preferred approach, or a preferred design. Don't want to mix those terminology. So, and many more designs. For more information, of course, feel free to reach out, particularly for those who are in academic world. You want to get it right. Longitudinal design is doing actually very well in medical researches where you want to observe, let's say, a vaccine, how it's performing on patients or on subjects before we can roll it out. A certain drug has been introduced. You want to observe it over an extended period of time. So quite reliable there. So after choosing a design, we delve deeper into, let's say, the methods or other tools. I've already talked about questionnaire. I've already talked about interviews, where we do interview schedule, and then observations, focus group discussions. All of them are meant to achieve a specific goal. So you need to understand that. Now, after we've described our design, we've decided which one we're using, the next phase should be now to design, let's say we want to decide how many people we shall interview. So if there are 100 police officers who man the roads or streets in, let's say, the city of Nairobi, I want to make sure the number or the sample I choose of these 100 police officers, traffic police officers, is representative in terms of if I interview 10 of them, will they give me a picture, a true picture of what the 100 believe, or will I still be missing out on some very important information? So if it's qualitative research, the target is to decide what level you will have reached what you call point of saturation. I had highlighted it in my previous video. So point of saturation is where additional interviews don't provide additional information. If I'm doing focus group discussions, if I do 5 of them and then I keep doing more, there is no additional information that I'm getting to what we already have. So that is what you need to do. It is mostly subjective, but you can also find out what other studies have done, what number did they use that they found the point of saturation, and then you stop. If you reach a point of saturation, no more information is coming through, just enough. So, and you see, you have to make these decision before starting the research. You will decide, I'm interviewing only 10 police officers, and then I know once I get to the 11th, no more information and no more additional information will be derived comparing to what I already have. Now, where things get a little bit complicated is quantitative decision of the number of people you'll interview. So quantitative, we say if the number is small, you just interview or administer questionnaire to all of them. So for instance, if there are only 100 drivers in Nairobi, it's appropriate to just administer questionnaire to all of them. So here you're using now here I'll be throwing in a lot of concepts, but if you want more information, feel free to reach out. So here we're talking about a sample. We have sampling framework or sampling framework, the decision, or rather, how am I deciding on a sample to use? And then within that, we have sampling techniques. Sampling techniques, definitely, they are just techniques of choosing a proportion of the population you want to administer questionnaires to, or your research tools. So sampling techniques, now, this is also a wide range of them, a variation. I've already talked about, let's say, deciding to interview all of them. So that's what we would call census kind of, it's a census technique where every subject is selected. And then within the sampling technique, there are 2 categories. We have what you call probabilistic and non-probabilistic. So probabilistic is where those techniques which give every participant an equal chance of selection. Quite technical, but I hope we're flowing together. So every respondent has an equal chance of selection. Now I'll use examples. Simple random sampling. You walk in a room of 50 people. You randomly choose. So that is simple random sampling. It is that simple. Choose this head, this head, this head. Probably you can even close your eyes and select this one. So that is, everybody has an equal chance of being selected because your eyes are closed. And then we have stratified sampling in groups or strata. People confuse it a lot with cluster sampling, so you need to understand the difference. Those are some of the probabilistic techniques of sampling. Non-probabilistic, this one is applying a lot in qualitative research. For instance, convenience sampling. Although they are, of course, applied sometimes in quantitative, but they are really preferable in quantitative. I'm just saying they tend to fall more in qualitative, but they are also applicable in quantitative. So for instance, snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is I interview one person, they refer me to the next person, and then not interview, administer questionnaire, they refer me to the next, like that, until I reach my target. Let's say if I am targeting 250, so that is the process I'm using. Convenience sampling and others. So those are non-probabilistic. Non-probabilistic in terms of not all participants have an equal chance of selection. It is more of, I know the next person you can interview, so I am biased towards that, you see. So it's about, I know, I'll refer you to the person I know, go interview them. Purposive sampling, I know experts in road carnage or transport sector, so I'll refer you to those ones. I am biased towards those ones because those experts, I know they're the ones who will give you information about road carnage and the transport sector. So don't go anywhere else, go to these ones, very specific. So it brings in an element of bias, because what if I don't know everybody? So you need to be aware of that. Although it's good that you get very expert kind of knowledge, but just the way I've asked, what if you don't know everything or everybody? So sampling techniques. So I had started this sampling aspect by mentioning that it's very technical, because you need to decide how many. Here we are not talking about point of saturation. We need the more the better. We have what we call scientific techniques of deciding a sample size. So scientific techniques of deciding a sample size, they have been documented already. I'll use some Cochrane sampling formula as an example. We have in the academic world, I see people use lots of Mugenda sampling formula. We have many of them. Just as example, you can check them on different research platforms or research articles, you see. So they have different ways of calculating, but if you look at them carefully, they always arrive at almost the same sample size. So here we do these calculations. So before we say we are interviewing 250, a minimum, we've done calculations, we've arrived at that. So that gets a little bit technical, but it's good that nowadays you can even calculate online and then arrive at a sample. So by calculating a sample size, you need to have an idea of what is the total population, what is the margin of error, which error will you allow in your calculation. A little bit technical, but what is the margin of error? We have other terminology there, but let's not delve so much into them. So once you arrive at a sample size, most of the sample size is let's forget that. So once you've decided a sample size, the next step, of course, is or before we go into the field to collect data, we need to test our tools. And before testing the tools, we need to construct them. Let's say we want to construct our questionnaire. As I had mentioned when I was introducing a problem, you have your objectives of research. Those objectives form the themes of your literature review, of your research. Those same themes will form the backbone of your research tools. Let's take an example of a questionnaire. You will break down your questionnaire, even if it's not evident on the questionnaire itself, the questions, even if you don't have the subtitles in the questions, the questions should be falling within some categories. Now, we had mentioned examples of driver behavior. Driver behavior could be a subtopic or a theme. Within these, we shall have questions specifically investigating driver behavior. We had highlighted corruption. So corruption is a theme. You'll have questions investigating corruption. And as I had mentioned earlier, you need to design your questions in a way that they will not end up limiting the kind of analysis you can do. For instance, if I ask drunk driving is a problem on the road, yes or no, most drivers are reckless driving because of rush for money, yes or no, then it's so limiting. You need questions that will expand the kind of analysis you can do. Let me clarify a little bit. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think is the behavior of no, that is not good. On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you think is the behavior of drivers on the road? 1 is bad, very bad. 5 is very good. And then people are ranking. So within that rank, that's what you call a Likert scale. Likert scale or Likert scale depends on how you want to pronounce it. But the main point is, once you rank, you can make these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then later you can turn them into continuous variable through, let's say, deriving the mean, and then you can actually come up with a continuous variable to measure. So our expertise is in helping you do this. For instance, we are turning that Likert scale observations or responses into something quantitative or continuous, something continuous that we can end up now doing the kind of analysis that deserves that kind of responses. For instance, constructing or rather developing a regression model. So regression model relies on continuous variables, particularly the outcome variable. So the outcome is what is being affected. So it needs to be a continuous variable. So we can easily turn this once the variable, or rather once the questions have been asked in the best way, the right way, the right appropriate way. Yeah, so that is quantitative, and much more is within this. This is why we can give you a budget and you get a little bit scared, but we are meant to use to give you value for your money. Now after that, we have testing. I had started to mention a little bit about testing your study tools. For instance, I want to see, will the respondents understand the questions the way they are framed? Will even my research assistants understand how to ask the questions? Because if the research assistant don't understand how to ask the questions, the start of a very big problem, I have come across scenarios where, let's say, you're asking a sensitive questions in a focus group discussion. That is the point where research start to lose, let's say, it starts to deviate from ethical considerations. Let's take an example. You ask individuals, how much do you earn as income, in a focus group discussion. That is personal information. I don't even share mine with my family. Why do you want me to share in a group? Because just to help you do your research. Then I'll not respond to that, or I will lie just to finish it up. You don't want to create scenarios where respondents are lying to you, because they can lie so well. So you have to be very careful with the kind of questions, and all these is within constructing your research tools. All these considerations, they have to be taken care of when constructing. Now, when testing your study tools, you're also checking, is this the right question to ask? Is it being asked in the right way, or can we adjust a little bit the phrasing? And then you are enhancing the reliability and accuracy, the quality of your research. So we can help you do that. Designing, scripting questionnaires, that's the work we do so well. Reach out for more information. And then after we've tested pilot study, there is also a framework for deciding the number of respondents you should use in a pilot study. A pilot study, you should not interview the same people or you administer a questionnaire to the same people you will use in the main study or in the actual study. They need to just give a picture of how you will do the study, but not the actual study. I hope that makes sense. After that, I think you will be in a good position to proceed once you've constructed your tools properly. The next time I'll highlight in detail about the analysis. I have already introduced you to the kind of analysis like Likert scale, yes and no kind of questions, descriptive and inferential analysis. We shall delve into it in detail when we catch up next time. But feel free to reach out if you are at that phase of research that you are struggling to design your methodology, your methods. Reach out, we simplify the work for you before you get to another technical phase of analysis. It's been a pleasure connecting with you today. I look forward to hearing your feedback, any concerns, any questions. Let's connect. hello@studyanalytics.com, info@studyanalytics.com, or check out our website, studyanalytics.com. See you next time.